Of course, the irony of that remark hardly needs mentioning. And yet, here we are, the Al Jazeera 3 facing our 126th day of detention and our 7th appearance before an Egyptian criminal court on charges of terrorism. In some respects, we should all be flattered. After all, it's a measure of the power of the media and the government's fear of it that our words should be regarded as potent as any bombs. Here in Egypt, we've been imprisoned along with many other local journalists as part of what the authorities have come to describe as their own war on terror. What began as a campaign to put down Islamic militancy has been extended to everyone who, in the government's words, spreads the ideology of terror. In the logic of conflict, that would seem to include journalists who have even moderate Islamists in their contact books. What often gets lost is the fundamental truth that the best defense against insecurity is a vibrant, open, noisy, and yes, at times even rabid press, willing to snap at the extremists with as much enthusiasm as tearing strips off the authorities. That is why, even in a place as apparently stable and open as Australia, we must never take press freedom for granted. But we must also acknowledge that on this day and for the past few months, press freedom is being vigorously defended, and in a way that would have been unimaginable before our arrest. We have seen countless protests around the world, an extraordinary online campaign, petitions, news conferences and appeals that together have been unprecedented in the struggle to protect press freedom. We are, of course, deeply moved and strengthened by the outpouring of support, but we also understand that this isn't just about the three of us, nor is it about the wider and far more critical issue of the freedom of speech here in Egypt. Our case has become emblematic of the freedom of the press worldwide. If by arresting us the government sought to send a message to journalists, both foreign and local, working here, then the campaign for our release has sent an unequivocal response, and it is one that is being heard everywhere. Muzzling the press is not only a moral affront, it is an abuse of basic, universally accepted social rights and responsibilities. The right to speak freely and openly, coupled with the media's responsibility to question, interrogate, and challenge those in power. The abuses are being committed far too frequently, and not just in Egypt, where dozens of journalists remain in prison. From the horrific murder of reporters plainly doing their jobs, to the more mundane, though no less sinister silencing of uncomfortable voices through censorship, threats and intimidation in authoritarian regimes around the world remain all too common for anyone to relax. We are confident that in time, and hopefully soon, all three of us will be acquitted and released. And we are all convinced that the campaign has been a vital part of our defense, both within and outside court. But it must also be making any government considering a similar crackdown pause for thought. It is not a revolution, but it is a significant moment. Journalists and those who consume our journalism should all be grateful. That's the end of the message.